it's me, Bussy, and welcome back to my channel. Today's topic is very serious. Sherry Pie is back, and she's been performing. In today's video, I'm going to be chronicling her return, explaining what happened in that Tamron Hall interview, explaining why everyone was so mad about it, and using this video as an opportunity to elevate the voices of the victims in this situation, and to have an open discussion about how to move forward as a community. And before we move forward, I do want to give you a content warning. There will be images and clips of Sherry Pie used in this video in order to give commentary and critique on the topic. 2 days ago, Sherry Pie posted her first Instagram post since like the premiere photo shoot thing that they did to promote season 12. In it, she said this: "It's been a long year of learning how to own my many unpardonable mistakes. I'll be sharing my story, reflecting on my shameful actions, and working towards making amends live on the Tamron Hall Show tomorrow." And Tamron Hall promoted that same interview on her social media as well.
Next, Tamron Hall, one of the breakout stars of RuPaul's Drag Race, Sherry Pie, booted from the show after being hit with lewd accusations of catfishing men.
One of the first people to immediately speak out against this planned performance was Ben Shimkus, one of Sherry Pie's victims. He tweeted, "Just so we are all clear on this, I spoke with producers at the Tamron Hall Show and told them that I and the 20 victims that I spoke to today do not want them to air a segment with Sherry Pie." In follow-up tweets, Ben said this: "Sherry Pie doesn't deserve a platform. He was taken off Drag Race for a reason. Tamron Hall Show is platforming Sherry Pie because violence against queer people is too often normalized. To anyone in the queer community, I'm sorry." Some of our Drag Race favorites like Jackie Cox also tweeted out, "I am publicly calling on the Tamron Hall Show to reconsider giving Sherry Pie access to the platform of national television to tell their side of the story without first speaking to the victims of her abuses and allowing them to weigh in on their own trauma. Being a performer and public persona is not a right, it is a privilege. Sherry relinquished this privilege by their actions. Giving Sherry a spotlight without the forethought to reach out to the victims is irresponsible, immoral, and wrong." So these tweets from people like Ben and Jackie created a firestorm on Twitter so loud that Tamron actually removed the original promotional tweet promoting the interview. Yet despite all of the backlash, they proceeded with the interview, airing a segment right before it started where Tamron said this:
"It's not giving away your platform. It's called an interview. And people who do bad things are interviewed. R. Kelly comes to mind."
And I'm gonna go ahead and give you some of the highlights, or lowlights, should we say, from the interview. Tamron asks Sherry Pie, who actually appears out of drag as Joey Gigliomi, "Do you anticipate there will be more people coming out with credible evidence that have similar stories?" Which Joey says he is unsure. And the rest of the interview, they kind of focus the conversation around Joey's mental health. Joey states that he's been in cognitive behavioral therapy, is prepared to take responsibility for any criminal investigations, and that he's also been diagnosed with borderline personality disorder. They also talk about why he did it, for which Joey says it was for control.
What could have been the motivation to do that to people?
It was about control.
And doesn't really have an answer when Tamron asks him why he would do something like that to people that were his friends.
Who would do that
Very
to
good
their
friend.
friend? Who would do that to a friend?
I know.
In one of the best parts of the interview, Joey is going on about his BPD diagnosis, at which point Tamron cuts him off and says that we weren't gonna let you use your mental illness as an excuse for your actions.
Okay, I want to make this clear, though. I don't blame my mental illness for anything that I
Oh,
have
we weren't
done.
going to let
These are
you
my
do that
own
either.
actions.
We know that people with that condition and with mental health don't catfish their friends and do deplorable
Correct.
things.
But I think one of the most problematic things we learned from the interview is that Joey isn't really doing anything for his community. When asked about that, he simply says that he's reached out to 3 of his victims, one of which who told him to never contact him again. On top of this interview, Entertainment Weekly has just published an article revealing that Sherry Pie has been performing in 2020. In the article, a quote from Sherry Pie says, "It's just a space that I performed at twice. There was no money or anything like that. It was very limited, testing out material that I'd been working on." Guglielmi says a pair of shows that occurred throughout the year, which he estimates were attended by approximately 15 people per set. It was very few people. It's a space that I know the person who owns it personally. It's not like a venue. Okay. Keep in mind, this quote was obtained after Sherry had gone on record saying that she hadn't performed in 2020. So not only is she lying about performing, but she's performing. I think there's a couple of different harmful things contributing to Sherry Pie's story and allowing her to make this little sneaky return back into the public eye. I think it was a disservice to the audience and the gay community that Tamron referred to what Sherry Pie did as lewd catfishing.
Booted from the show after being hit with lewd accusations of catfishing men.
Which, by the way, is also perpetuated by articles like that Entertainment Weekly article that only calls it catfishing. And did we really need this interview? I'm not sure that I got enough out of it to warrant it happening, but Tamron does defend why she did it, which I'll get to here in just a minute. First of all, I think it's incredibly important to clarify what Joey did when we are talking about this situation. We cannot, as a community, continue to call this catfishing, lewd catfishing, or anything like that. Joey was operating a scheme in which he was pretending to be a casting director named Allison Mosey, casting for a fictitious play, which was then going to be turned into a TV show. Allison was seeking these audition pieces, which were, let's just say, rated R, and there were also physical abuses that occurred too. This was not just online catfishing. Joey appeared in person as representation for the director of this fictitious play and TV show to collect these audition pieces, which again were rated R. This has all happened. He admitted it.
There are no allegations. I've admit to my wrongdoings and my just beyond wrongdoings.
To call what Joey did as lewd catfishing completely downplays the situation. Someone unfamiliar with what's happened could jump to like pop culture examples they have in their mind, like let's say how catfishing as a phrase has become kind of a meme. We see it all over YouTube, you know, catfish makeup tutorials, and we also have the TV show Catfish, which has sort of popularized the idea that all of this behavior occurs online. But my point is, this is not an episode of MTV's Catfish. This was real life. There were over 20 victims. And there's an excellent article on Vox's website, which I've linked to in the description of this video, detailing the firsthand accounts of people like Shimkus and another one of Sherry's victims. So with all of that in mind, I would like to propose as a community that we stop calling what Joey did catfishing and call it what it is. Abuse. A common viewer of Tamron's show, or maybe somebody who innocently attended one of those performances that Sherry Pie was at, may have no idea what's actually happened. All they're really seeing is this redemption story. They're not seeing all the bad, and Tamron called Sherry a breakout star. And then if they go watch RuPaul's Drag Race Season 12, they might say like, oh, this person's super talented. Oh, they were disqualified? That's weird, who knows why? And they may not ever even go look it up. Without the voice of the victims coupled right alongside Sherry's redemption arc that she is trying to have, we are going to accidentally re-platform this person. In a follow-up interview of that same Tamron Hall episode, she interviews Ryan Mitchell. Tamron defends her actions and she says, you know what, this interview was very important because we got a public admission in an interview admitting to what they did.
This was the first time in 30 years a abuser has ever admitted it.
But the thing is, we've already gotten a public apology from Sherry Pie. That's what kicked this whole thing off. That's what got Sherry disqualified from season 12. And now we've learned that Sherry has been performing, even after lying about performing, even if only twice. I think having this knowledge now puts this interview in an entirely different light. Note how in her quote, she said she had been working on some material. In my opinion, this was just an opportunity that Sherry used to elevate her own voice, to gain more sympathy by apologizing for what she's already apologized for, and to tell everyone that she has BPD, which could, maybe in her eyes, gain her even more sympathy. As for my final thoughts, this is not somebody who deserves a platform. I do not support this person returning to the public eye. But to clarify, I am in no way mad at Tamron for doing the interview. Like, that's her thing, that's her show. She has a lot of experience doing this type of stuff. I'm just upset that the show's producers and Tamron herself didn't see the need to elevate the voices of the victims, or at bare minimum, tell the audience exactly what lewd catfishing was. Tamron compared this interview to interviewing people like R. Kelly, which I don't think is totally fair, because I think the allegations against people like R. Kelly could be considered public knowledge. Sherry Pie is not a household name. Knowing what she did to her victims is what I would consider niche knowledge. I think if you're going to air an apology, you need to also air the reason that person is apologizing. That said, Tamron was great in the interview. I don't think that she allowed Joey any room to make excuses for what happened. And finally, here's some food for thought for y'all. Do you think allowing Joey to appear out of drag for an interview like this allows an audience member's mind to separate exaggerate the severity of what he did with the character of Sherry Pie? If so, do you think this is a problem? And what should we do with Joey? What should we do with Sherry Pie? Where does someone go once they've been deplatformed? Let me know down in the comments below. As always, I want to say thank you so much for watching this video and to remind you to send some love to someone today. I also want to give a huge thanks to everyone who supports me on Patreon and makes my channel possible. And I want to give a special shout out to Anthony, Bradley, Cameron, Christopher, Evan, Freddie, Glenn, GJ Bearclaw, Got the Morbs, Jenny, Gen X, Jonah, Johnny, Kazuko, Kevin, Kiki and John, Olympus Mons, Venus, Ron, Roar, Ruth, Shannon, Sky, Sunshine, Superplan, Tina, Timothy, and Tony, who are all supporting me at the hottest tier, and Angel, Caroline, Craig, JB, Marty and Cheesy Boy, Matthew, Nurse Luca, Sailor, Timotheus, and Tom, who are all supporting me at my Bussy Queen Collector tier. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see y'all this weekend for my regular hot or rot drag race reviews. Love ya, bye.